What's going on with Ethereum? It looks like a ghost town. Hardly anyone's using it anymore. Is there any chance it could make a comeback? Are there worries about being replaced by something else? Hi, crypto isn't just for programmers. I'm Jita. On this channel, I'll help you go from a beginner to a Web3 professional. If you enjoy this content, make sure to subscribe to our channel and don't forget to give me a like. If you want to stay in the Web3 market long term, the best way is to improve your skills and become a Web3 app developer. Head over to our homepage. I'll guide you step by step. That's been a big question I keep hearing about Ethereum, which is the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap. In this video, I'm going to tackle those questions one by one and talk about where Ethereum stands right now and what the future might hold for it. Alright, let's talk about what's been going on with Ethereum. Just to be clear, this video isn't going to share any secrets or give you financial advice. It's common to see people judging a technology or even an entire industry based on price. If the price goes up, they're all in on the blockchain revolution. If it drops, suddenly it's a worthless technology that nobody uses. The idea is totally off base. It's a shame that crypto has often been seen this way from the get-go. What you need to understand is that the price of an asset doesn't always reflect the actual value of the technology itself. Sometimes it's even the opposite. Right now, we're seeing that Ethereum's tech fundamentals are at a historical low compared to its price. In this video, I'll break down why that's happening. To give you a heads up, this kind of thing happened back in October 2023 too. People's opinions about Ethereum were pretty much the same as they are now. We can look back at what happened afterward and see if history repeats itself. The next few months are going to be really interesting. First, let's talk about the basics of Ethereum. Then we can dive into its price. A lot of the metrics for Ethereum are dropping, not just the price. For example, Ethereum's gas fees have dropped to 3 GWI, which is one of the lowest I've seen in the last 5 years. It really shows that demand on the Ethereum network is going down, but it's not that straightforward. Another thing to keep an eye on is the supply of Ethereum. Every time a transaction happens on Ethereum, some Ether gets burned. If the trading volume is high enough, it can actually become deflationary. But lately, the transaction volume on the main net has dropped. During this time, Ethereum has basically gone into an inflation phase. On the surface, it looks bad for Ethereum, but that's not the whole story behind its price drop. Even with inflation, the amount of new Ethereum being added just isn't enough to cause such a big decline. Another big factor is that a lot of activity on Ethereum has moved to Layer 2 solutions. Layer 2 is super important for scaling Ethereum because it can handle a ton of transactions. It doesn't take up the main chain's resources. So a lot of transactions are now happening on Layer 2. Because of that, there's less activity on the main chain, even though some metrics on the main chain are dropping. Layer 2 is really making waves. If you look at some metrics in terms of Ethereum units instead of dollars, you'll see that the amount locked in Ethereum is actually growing. This means that Ethereum's usage is still going up on Layer 2, which is exactly in line with its long-term growth plans. Looking at these fundamentals, Ethereum is far from dying. Even though gas fees are lower, less ETH is being burned, prices have dropped. That doesn't mean Ethereum's technology isn't good. A lot of people tend to judge tech by its price, but the truth is that price and the actual fundamentals don't always match up. So, let's take a look at Ethereum's price in the end. You just look at the price. You might think it's totally done for. But like I mentioned earlier, the market usually loves to go against what people expect. Everyone thinks a crypto project is dead. It has a way of surprising you. Sometimes things take a turn. For example, then, not to 2023. Ethereum's price shot up really quickly for a bit. History doesn't always repeat itself, but if there's a shift in the fundamentals of the crypto market, it might happen again. So my takeaway is that Ethereum isn't dead. Even though the current price doesn't totally match its fundamentals, Ethereum's tech foundation is still really solid in the long run. The market just needs a little nudge. Prices could start climbing again. This cycle could go on forever, until one day it finally breaks out of the loop. If you want to learn about developing on the Solana chain and the Ethereum EVM chain, make sure to follow our channel for more related content. If you'd like to join our community, you can visit our website, where you'll find a link to join our Discord server. See you there.